What is going on, guys? It is Apex the Entertainer, and my God, prepare to just be so entertained. We're doing a basics guide today, just in regards to gameplay. We're gonna look at a little bit of gameplay. We're gonna talk about some tips and tricks that I wish I would have known sooner. Hopefully, get you ahead of the game as far as playing ranked games and progressing. So, without further ado, let's get right into our collection here. You'll want to make sure that you have a deck ready ahead of time, of course, right? I will, big surprise, do a separate video in reference to deck building, best strategies, what I recommend, stuff like that. But nonetheless, make sure you have one ready. You can put 12 cards inside of your deck. In this case, I am using a pre-made deck, a tutorial deck that I built, not because it's super strong. I'll give you a heads up. I may very well lose the game that we're about to play, but because two reasons. Number one, it's got a lot of cards that you start with. So for a lot of folks, this is going to apply to you right away, where you can see some strategy with cards that you already own. And secondly, because you have lots of different ability types in here. So you guys will see a variety of different things as far as how they work and what you can do with them. Unfortunately, I won't really be able to describe every card that I'm using in depth. I will do a much more advanced tutorial later as far as how to strategically combine abilities and stuff like that. If you haven't already, I might recommend watching my other video, my basics of cards, stats, and abilities, and that'll give you a better breakdown on some of the stuff that I won't be going in depth on here. So let's get right into a match here. And keep in mind, these matches are timed. So I'll probably split this over multiple matches so you guys can kind of just see me in kind of a chill vibe. You can kind of see me play as I slowly describe stuff, because otherwise if I don't focus, I'll get just completely butchered. So I want to be able to show you guys a little bit of each. So first and foremost, you'll notice that every single turn you are offered an energy. So you do get one energy per turn. That'll continue to stack throughout all 6 turns. Yes, I said 6 turns. That's very limited. So if you've played other games, please keep in mind you really got to build the value out of each turn, because if not, whew, that'll surprise you. I don't know, you're just like, oh, damn, game's over. I lost. Because I thought there was 20 turns, and there's not. There's only 6. Let's throw something down here. We've got Quicksilver. Quicksilver is always nice because we're definitely not going to put him there. Quicksilver is always nice. Woo! Because he automatically starts in your opening hand. I have a couple cards in this deck that always show up on a certain turn and never before. So I have Domino that does that on turn 2 as well. So she'll always make sure to show up right on turn 2, and she won't show up before or after that, which is great because it means your hand's not flooded with garbage when you can't play those cards, right? So we're going to play Electra because she has an on-reveal ability where we destroy an opposite card. Oh, no, we're not because of this zone ability. Cards that cost 1 can't be played here. All right, that's fine. Let's throw Domino down there. All right, so each turn you'll get that energy. Please keep in mind that energy does not roll over, right? So generally speaking, you're going to use all the energy you can every round. There are exceptions to that, most definitely, but just in this case, for the sake of this tutorial video, that's what I'm going to say is you usually want to try to use all of your energy every round. Now we can get our Electra out there, but we might want to wait and play our Captain first, because he's going to give +1 power to all other cards at this location. So we're going to do that. We can always hold on to Electra. Electra is a stellar card, by the way. I think she's very good. Removal in this game is ridiculous. Let's throw Cap out there, and then let's continue on to the next point that I wanted to talk about, which is these zones. So you'll notice that the game is built into 3 zones, or 3 locations, where you can play your cards. Now you can play 4 cards at each location, and it's like a mini game of war, right? You just want to make sure that you have as much power as you can in each zone. We're going to throw our Mr. Fantastic out here because he'll get +2 power to each of our adjacent locations here. But back to locations. Each of them have their own unique ability, and they are revealed turn by turn from 1 through 3. So first turn we saw Bar Sinister get revealed. Second turn, this one was revealed, and big surprise, I know you're all thinking it, third turn, the third one was revealed. And as I stated earlier, each one of them has a unique ability. So you can see in this case with Bar Sinister, when you play a card here, fill this location with copies of it. That one is insane, as you might assume. So we're actually going to put my Blue Marvel in there. He's a card that offers a ton of value. He's in a lot of zoo decks right now. He just gives all other cards +1 power on your side. So we're going to multiply that by 4, which is tons of value. Now, because I think I'm in a really good spot, I'm going to show you guys another mechanic here, which is called snapping. Yeah, that's right. A little bit of Thanos snap. What that does is you'll notice at the top, oh, he snapped when I asked for it. You'd love to see it. That means he's pretty confident too. So if you think that you're ahead of the game and you think you're going to do well, then you can snap. Now what that does is that doubles up the ante for any of you poker players. It basically means that you're betting more ranked points. And so this number up top refers to how many points you will lose or gain after winning or losing. He actually retreated because he saw that I put that blue marble out there. Automatically, all of the turns except for the last, you have one rank point that you folks are betting, basically, right? So if you choose to retreat when that is the only value up top, then you'll only lose 1 point. So funny enough, this is a game that encourages retreating, right? It is the most efficient way to do it sometimes. If you are in a spot where, based on RNG or just maybe poor play or whatever it is, you know you're going to lose, it makes sense to retreat. So what he did was smart. And the reason being is that on the final turn, on that 6th turn, the bet or that ante or whatever you want to call it doubles. So if nobody snaps, then it's 1 every single turn from 1 through 5. And then on turn 6, it is 2. If one of you snaps, it is now 2 every single turn, 1 through 5, and then it doubles to 4 on the last turn. Now in this case, I pulled a little tricksy poo, which is that pretty much every time that I snap, I'll ask the other player to snap. I'll try to bully him a little bit, try to give him a little pressure, put on that pressure. See if I can get him to snap, because then it's even more value. Now, instead of it being 2 on turns 1 through 5, it is 4 on turns 1 through 5, which is what happened in this case. But of course, he retreated before the final turn, which was definitely the right call on his part. On the 6th turn, if I had gotten him to stick along for the ride, it would have been 8 total value. So nonetheless, we did get more value, right? We got more value even if we had won a turn 6 game without any snaps. We got double that amount. So that's really nice, even with him retreating early. So let's collect our rewards really quick. As you can see, we're going to get those rank points, and we are also going to get some boosters. Again, you know how much I love talking about my other videos. I did make a video where I talked about boosters and credits. That's in the artwork and progression video. We're going to hop into another game. I'm going to talk about a couple other things in reference to gameplay, along with those ticks, whoa. Yeah, ticks is a good word for me, I guess. Tricks and tips and tricks, Jesus Christ. All right, so like I was saying, right, the goal here is to make sure that you win the majority of zones, or if it's a tie, to make sure that you have the most power in total, right? That's going to be that tiebreaker. So now that we've talked about that, we've talked about the snap, we've talked about energy, power, cost, you know, whatever it may be, I feel like you've got a pretty good idea as far as the basics. I want to expand into a few tips and tricks that I know for me, it was very helpful. It really helped me get ahead of the game. I feel like once I got it down, I wish I knew all this stuff earlier, because it most definitely makes a difference. We're going to play our Medusa here in the middle, because she has an on reveal ability where she gets extra power. She's played in the middle there. So for the first of my 3 tips and tricks that I want to mention very briefly, and of course I'll do a more in-depth video as far as advanced strategies down the road, but the first of 3 is the pros and cons of playing in zones that have yet to be revealed. As you heard me state previously, these zones are revealed turn by turn, right? So now that we've landed on the 3rd turn, the 3rd zone has been revealed. But there are a variety of different zones that do different things, and interestingly enough, if the zone is not revealed yet, that effect will not take place. In certain cases, even after being revealed, whatever negative or positive effect it might have played will not affect the cards that are already sitting inside of that zone. So of course this is RNG, right? There's no way to perfectly pre-plan this, but I know that for me in the beginning, I was making sure to only play my card in the revealed zones, even if I knew it was probably the least efficient way for me to do it. When push comes to shove, there's a couple of different zones or locations that stick out to me that I'll mention here. So for instance, the zone abilities that might be negative effects, right, are something like Death's Domain, where whenever you play a card there, it gets destroyed, or the Sanctum, right? So you can't play any cards here. Those are the 2 effects that apply to those locations. For example, the Sanctum, if that's in that 3rd zone here and it has yet to be revealed, you are able to play cards there till it's revealed, and then you're no longer able to play cards in that specific zone. Boy snapped on us, huh? Trying to snap on me? Actually, we're not going to snap back. This game's not going so hot currently for us. Sure. That's a couple of examples where it might make sense for you to place those cards prior to them being revealed. Now, again, I mean, of course, I need to mention the flip side, right? The other option, which is that it can actually be a negative thing for you to play cards before they're revealed, right? And of course, that's the goal of the game, right? They want that balance where you have that RNG, so you kind of take educated risks and see what you can do with it. So some quick examples of that are something like Murder World, right? When it comes to Murder World, after turn 3, all of the cards are destroyed at that zone. So if you preemptively put a card there, your opponent may be more ahead of the game once that zone is revealed, right? Because your card's going to be destroyed and his might not be if he hasn't played anything there, right? Basically zones where, there's many zones where you may try to play nothing there at all. So if you're playing ahead of the game prior to it being revealed, you might put yourself in a rough spot. Now this is nice because we know exactly where he has to play his final card here. So we're going to put this guy here. I like that we're already winning these 2 zones. Maybe I will snap. Yeah, let's snap. Let's get absolutely buck wild. All right, let's keep it spicy. We'll go into a couple other points, but before I do that, I do want to finish out one thought there. There's zones like the Raft, which is an absolutely ridiculous location. The first player to fill that zone or location out draws a 6-cost card, and its cost is reduced to 0. Absolutely bonkers, right? So in that case, if you happen to play a card prior to that zone being revealed, you could be ahead of the game. That could win you the whole game. It's awesome. It's part of what's really exciting is when you make what feels like a very big brain play, even if it's not. We take those. Whatever happens, as long as I feel smart by the end of the day, we're good. Both of us snapped. Both of us stayed in because we were overconfident, or he was overconfident. I was equal confident, exactly confident enough. So we got 8 rank points out of that. We'll get on into one more game here, and I'll talk about just a couple more tips that I think are really beneficial for you folks to know. And the second thing that I want to talk about is the importance of order. Order is very important in 2 specific categories. Number 1, between you and your opponent, who flips their card first. And number 2, within yourself, which one of your cards activate in what order. So to give you a quick example of that, you'll notice up here at the top right that Mr. C, Mr. C's nameplate is lit up. What that means is that he will be flipping first. He'll be revealing first. That's important to note because if you play a card like Electra, like you guys saw earlier, right? She has a on reveal ability where she kills an opposite 1-cost card. If both of you play a card at that zone, you play your Electra and he plays a 1-cost card. If your Electra is revealed first, you will not kill that opposite card because cards that have yet to be revealed will not be affected by those abilities. So that's very important, right? Because it might be worth not using that specific card in that moment if you know that you are or are not revealing first. And it may be beneficial in either direction. Obviously, like I said, I'll talk about that in some other video where I get a little more in depth on that. But order is very important in regards to cards that you play and the order that matters. Some cards have effects that take place based on other cards that are currently in the zone or are not in the zone or whatever it may be, right? There's lots of variables. But it's important that you play them in the right order when it does matter. So a good example of this is 2 cards that go very well together. Let's put our Mr. Fantastic out here, get those extra points in those adjacent zones. Splitting that power between multiple zones, by the way, I think is real important. I think Mr. Fantastic is a great card. Not a ton of value necessarily, but the way that he splits it up is great. 2 cards that mesh really well together. Carnage and Nova. So I don't have these cards currently in the deck, but I'll probably make sure to put something up there so you can see them as I'm talking about them. So Carnage has an effect where he, on reveal, destroys all the other cards inside of that zone, your side of the zone, I should clarify, and gives himself +2 power for each card that was destroyed in this way. Nova has an ability where when he is destroyed, he gives all of your other cards +1 power. There's that Sanctum that I was talking about not too long ago, by the way. It's very important that if you were to use that Nova Carnage combo, that you place your Nova first. And by that, I mean it exactly how it sounds. You saw that I put Star-Lord out first and then Ant-Man second. They reveal in that same order that they're placed. So if you accidentally place Carnage first, let's say that was in the rightmost zone here, let's say we were able to play in this zone. If I put Carnage down first and then I put Nova down, I'm not utilizing either of those abilities versus placing Nova first, placing Carnage so that Nova is destroyed and consequently gives all my other cards lots of power, and then gives my Carnage that 2 additional power as well. So it really does make a difference playing cards in the proper order. We got this middle zone locked down. We want to make sure that we leave one space here, which we're going to be able to do. We also have the benefit of being able to move Nightcrawler over to Sanctum, so that we can hopefully take that zone because he doesn't have any movement currently available to him. So we're going to snap on this one, and we're going to see if we can get old Mr. C to snap. Huh? Curious? You want a little snap ski for us, Mr. C? So we'll find out. I think I've got this game pretty much locked down at this point. We're going to drop our Spectrum here, Spectrum being the card that gives all ongoing cards +2 power, so that'll apply to a few of the cards that we currently have out. So all said and done, my third and final tip. Oh my goodness, he retreated, only gave me 1 freaking rank point. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me, Mr. C? I thought we had something. We seemed close. We seemed like, I don't know about you, I felt like there was a spark between Mr. C and I. I felt like we had real chemistry, but, you know, maybe I was wrong. Finish out my third and final point, which is blowing your load. What I mean by that is I just mean preemptively filling the entire zone ahead of time. Shoot, let's throw one more game in there, huh? As I'm talking about this. You want to be really careful about preemptively filling out a zone in its entirety, because then you've kind of given away your hand. We're making another poker reference here, folks, for all my gamblers. When you show that you've capped out the total amount of space in a zone, you now give the leeway to the opponent to decide whether or not they need to waste extra power there, right? So essentially, once the zone is full, like assuming I fill out this middle zone, ooh, when you play a card here, add a copy to another location, Sinister London. This is a really fun one. But back to what I was saying. If I fill this zone out, the opponent now knows, assuming that, you know, they're fairly well versed as far as how this game works, that the only way now that I can add more power to that zone is through third-party effects, through other zones or buffs or whatever it may be. I don't have the leeway to place another card there and gain more power. So if I cap out this zone and I have, let's say, 18 power, and he's got 3 cards at 19 power, he now has the opportunity to not place a 4th card there if he's confident that I'd have no power to add. So obviously, again, there's exceptions to all of this, but I really think if I had understood this fully earlier, I would have had I'd done a much better job of hopping ahead in the ranks, because it really does make a difference. As soon as I see that somebody has capped out a zone, especially if they do it early, it's very common that I'll win the game. I feel like that is a game changer to fully understand that, because again, once you've given away that hand, all of a sudden the power lies in your opponent, right? Let's throw our cap down here. We're putting down cards that I feel like have extra value in this middle area. Obviously, Quicksilver wouldn't have gone there, but we're putting out cards like that so that we can duplicate them in other spots. You want to be careful, like, again, this kind of applies to blowing your load too, right? You want to be careful about placing cards here that aren't valuable. Like, that was very weird for him to not play. I didn't even play. I didn't even pay attention to Oscorp. Do you see what you guys just did to me? See what you just did? Rough. That's okay, we'll be fine. You want to be careful about making sure that you take things slow, basically. Don't fill out those zones quickly. Don't throw stuff down when it's not the most efficient, right? So that kind of goes, it's seems like it's contradictory to what I said earlier about spending all of your energy, and it kind of is. There's some cases where the most value might not be in spending the most energy. We'll throw Jessica Jones down here. For a quick review of what we spoke about, we talked about the fact that you gain energy turn over turn. We talked about the fact that you want the most power in the most zones possible so that you can take the Dubsky. We talked about that Thanos snap. You want to make sure you fully utilize that whenever you can, right? That's going to be the most efficient way to hop up the league. And we talked about a few tips and tricks. We talked about the importance of order as far as who goes first between you and your opponent and how you play your cards out of your hand. We talked about the importance of playing or not playing cards in unrevealed zones, and we talked about not blowing your load, folks. All right, hold it in. But I do hope that these tips and tricks did something for you. Without further ado, let's go ahead and take the Dubsky really quick. Am I right? Just kidding. I think we're going to lose this one. Yeah, it's like he heard me or something. God, we're not going to snap back on this one. Okay, we're going to play Mr. Fantastic, and then we'll drop the Ant-Man right here. We don't have a 1 cost to kill on that side. Okay, so if push comes to shove, we're having to take a bet on this danger room here. A bet that he's not having to take. We're gonna land on some RNG here. Now it's tempting, right? Of course it's tempting to retreat at this point, but we're gonna go ahead and take some risk because we've got the chances of us losing, completely lie in Danger Room. Losing or winning, I should say. So we're going to throw out Electra, Domino, and Star-Lord. Now the nice part is Star-Lord's going to get his effect no matter what, because we know this is the only place he can play a card, unless he chooses to play nothing, in which case he loses. And the other nice part is that he reveals first. So if he reveals a 1-cost card right now, my Electra will destroy it. So let's see what we got. Show us the... Okay. So he got 1 out of 2 merked on that one. Shang-Chi was, kind of whatever. All right, we need all of them to survive. Get absolutely demolished. Uninterested, dude. I knew. I was completely confident. I never had the slightest bit of worry, because all we do is pull dubs. That's what we do. I really do hope that you enjoyed those tips and tricks. I hope that it makes a difference when it comes to progressing, when it comes to gameplay overall, and just making sure you have the most fun out of it. I do think it's one of those games, right, where a lot of it's going to land on RNG, so just play how you want and enjoy it. But nonetheless, I think that these are points that as soon as I started to understand them better, I enjoyed the game a whole lot more because I started winning more. Go make some dubskis, some big plays, and of course, while you're doing that, why don't you like and subscribe? Because obviously, that's the only way that you're going to be maximum efficiency. And outside of that, I appreciate you all.